Hello, everyone. So happy to have you here tonight. We have a awesome guest tonight, and it is Long Vacation from Powercity. But my dad and I happen to be in the same place at his house, and so we decided to, come in and stream together. So excited to be here and excited to ask Powercity just what they have going on. And tonight is going to be the reveal of what Flex is. So stay tuned because it's going to be awesome to learn what that reveal is. Do you want to say anything?
No, just hi, everybody. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Perfect. All right, let's bring in Long Vacation. Hello.
Good evening.
How are you
Hello,
doing?
Fashion Coder and Fashion Coder Dad. How you doing?
So good. Great. So glad to have you here. I'm excited to just jump in and kind of learn what Powercity is. So first and foremost, can you go over what a brief overview of Powercity?
Sure. Powercity is intended to be an ecosystem of dApps and services built on Pulse Chain. So multiple protocols all working together, linked together into one single staking platform called the Core, where you can buy and stake the Watt token to participate in the revenue generated by all the dApps in the ecosystem. So it's one place to be able to earn some of the fees that are generated through NFT trading, through our accelerator, through the selling of Watt tokens, through each and every one of these protocols that we're planning and we'll be talking about tonight. So it is a suite of products that are designed to fill in a lot of key DeFi gaps that we're going to be finding on Pulse Chain on day one and giving us something to do with all that value that we suddenly find after the fork.
Awesome. Very cool. Thanks for that. So a couple of maybe more personal questions. How long have you been with Powercity?
So the group of guys I'm working with, we've actually been hanging out since kind of the beginning of the Pulse Chain chat. I've been moderating Pulse Chain Com for a little over a year now. And in the summer, right before the sacrifice period, there was kind of a side group that kind of splintered off for us to do a lot of brainstorming on what's going to happen with Pulse Chain. How are the liquidity pools going to get rebalanced? How are the forked contracts going to work? And all the nuts and bolts of really what is going on behind the scenes. And out of that came this group of guys that were all brainstorming, hey, we like this one thing over on Ethereum. How could we make it better? And then eventually it turned into, well, why don't we do this on Pulse Chain? And that then blossomed into, well, if we're going to do this, we really should do that. And if we're going to do that, we should do this. And it turned into this entire, from one platform to an entire ecosystem of things, thinking of great services that can be tied together and kind of interweaved to create a platform that, hopefully will add a lot of value to Pulse Chain as a whole, right? We're looking to fill some key gaps, like bridging value from other chains, right? We know there'll be Pulse Ramp that'll bridge value from Ethereum to Pulse Chain, right? So that's one way you can bring new value on. But what if you don't want to pay those Ethereum fees? Right? We want to get other ways to make it easier for you to onboard your cousins, your aunts, your uncles, who maybe want to throw $50 in, $100, whatever it is that they can, right? You don't want to lose 90% of that to fees. So let's find other ways to bring value on, for example, right? So things like that.
Awesome. And how big is the Powercity team?
Sure. It's 13 people total now.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people working on different things at once. We're able to multitask with so many people on the team. We do have developers within the team. We also have developers that we brought in for specific projects. So it allows us to be able to bring multiple things to market at the same time. For example, right now we are in development, soon to go into integration testing on our Core, our Transformer, cross-chain swap, and the Pixel Park NFT marketplace. So there's three things that we'll be actually showing off early test versions of in a live stream on Friday on the Power City channel. So you can definitely check that there. The nice thing is with so many people, we can pull a lot of different perspectives. We can really leverage the diversity of thought and experience to try to do different things. And we can have, bring all those interesting ideas to bear on these products that we're building.
Cool. Oh, well, great. Thanks for answering that. Okay, so to get into some of our questions, let's start off with this one. What tokens will you get for sacrificing?
I'm going to answer this a little bit sideways from your question for obvious reasons
Okay.
around how the sacrifice process works. But let's just say that the first project that we'll be launching on a Pulse chain is called the Core, and the native token for the Core is the Watt token. So Watt is the item that we will be launching first, and any distribution of Watt tokens will occur on Pulse chain after Pulse chain has launched.
So sorry. Okay. I don't think will be feedback anymore. Maybe.
Okay.
Is it good now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Anything else to answer that question?
No. So basically, the first project is the Core. The first token will be Watt. Watt will be distributed when we launch on Pulse Chain, right? So infer from that what you may.
Will that come out right when Pulse Chain when mainnet when it comes online, or there'll be a slight delay or anything?
So there's two factors involved. One is when does Pulse Chain actually launch? And obviously nobody knows that, right? And the other question is when is our core project fully tested and third-party audited, right? So everything we launch will go through third-party audit, has to go through all of that process. And there's an entire pipeline process of unit testing, integration testing, end-to-end testing, user acceptance testing, public testnet, and third-party contract audit, right? All of that needs to get done before we can send anything out in the public. We are not going to rush a product out just to hit a date, because that's when compromises have to be made. And I know, Fashion Coder, you have experience in software development and project management, and when you're given a deadline, you're always going to have to cut scope or go live with bugs that you just don't have time to address, right? And you get that in a bug fix or a phase 2 or whatever. And in my old job, the running joke was it was always going to be phase 2, and then phase 2 was never funded, right?
Oh, I know that well.
Yes.
Okay. Totally makes sense. Awesome. Let's see. I don't know if you covered this. Is the sacrifice over?
It is actually open until the fork for the hard fork for Pulse Chain is announced. Oh. So when the fork occurs, right, that will be the cutoff for sacrifice. And that was our goal. When we created the sacrifice for Powercity, we wanted to create an event that would be as balanced and equitable as possible for everybody, right? That everybody has the opportunity to participate in it. It doesn't have this daily 5% increase in cost, so that you're not rewarding people who got in early and punishing people who get in late. Some people, they participated in a lot of sacrifices. We totally respect that. We didn't want to punish them for having to wait to get more capital to be able to put in and contribute to the projects that they love. So not only did we give them more time, we actually gave them bonuses for participating in sacrifices for PulseX, liquid loans, and the Internet Money Dividends token. So if you participated, the wallet that sacrifices for Powercity participated in any one of those 4 sacrifice events, and we're even counting those who participated in the Legion VC or the Magic Carpet Ride or Magic Toshi Ride pools. So if you're one of those pools, you'll be recognized as well to get an additional bonus for your Powercity sacrifice points. And the maximum combined bonus for all of those is 55.55%. You may have heard that number before.
Possibly. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I actually did not know that, but I did sacrifice for Powercity, and I sacrificed for others too. And so that is great news for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you already done.
I got 3 out of 4. So
Good.
All right.
I'm out.
That's awesome. And on Friday, we will be picking, there's also community milestone bonuses that we're awarding. And that is giving an additional percentage bonus for the sacrifice points for randomly selected wallets when the entire community achieves certain total sacrifice levels. And, we've been able to give awards to several hundred wallets out of the over 2,000 that have sacrificed for Power City by now. And we'll be picking on Friday our $2.75 million milestone bonus winners. And that's 80 wallets to get an additional 35% bonus on their total sacrifice points. So, I mean, this community is doing amazing things. We want to give back to them. We want to see them, win. We want to be able to reward them for achieving just, amazing work here with this. They're helping build Power City and Pulse Chain and PulseX and everything else. So it's the least we can do.
That's awesome.
How would you find out if you won, if you're one of the winners?
Sure. So if you join our Telegram or our Discord, we do post the winners in a PDF file after they're picked. So you can go in there. If you go to the Telegram and use our combat responses, type in !winners, it will give you an automated response that has a link to the PDF. So you just search for your address in the PDF and you'll see if you have a bonus and what the rate was and what it applies to. Now, those bonuses, just so everyone knows, they only apply to whatever was sacrificed up to the point where the milestone was achieved by the community. So whatever date time that 2.75 million was achieved as the total sacrifice balance, that's whatever was sacrificed up to then will receive that bonus. Anything sacrificed after will just be the normal 1-to-1 rate that we have right now.
Gotcha. Oh, still, that's awesome.
Yeah, we didn't want people farming out like a winning address and pulling together because we didn't want to force people to take that risk. We have the utmost respect for our team members, Magic Carpet Ride, that's Triplet Dad and Hextrovert Ty. They joined the team, and we love what they did to allow people to achieve better bonuses in the sacrifice pools for PulseX and Liquid Loans. Amazing work, and they're doing it all for free, no commissions. But we didn't want to force people to pull together for Power City. We felt like every address can stand on its own 2 feet.
That's awesome. We do have a question in chat. Let me find it. Okay, Crypto Kid said, I've seen other people saying you guys are trying to bite off too much. What would you say to them? Can you handle it all? And PS, sacrificed already.
I would say bring it. We are working hard. We have a lot to show. So on Friday, we'll be showing off samples of 3 things that are in development, right? And I say development, they're not done yet. So we're not going to show finished product on Friday, but we're going to show you real code, real sites there that are working and that we are still going through unit testing on, but they are being built. So we do have a lot going on, but like I said, we have a 13-person team, which means we can accomplish a lot and we can divide and conquer across multiple things. So I'm excited about it. I think this is a really unique project that you don't see other teams trying to do 4 or 5 things and linking them all together the same way that we're doing here. And we think that it'll be a really unique thing to bring to Pulse Chain specifically.
Awesome. So Power City has its whole own ecosystem. I don't know if that's a good word for that. But it has lots of different components.
Yes.
And so are you okay if we maybe go and talk about a couple of those today?
Sure. Let me go ahead and list the individual pieces, and then we can break them down one by one if you want. So we have the core, which is the initial staking platform. That's the central staking platform that everything will be linked to, right? Then we have the transformer cross-chain swap, allowing you to swap from native coin to native coin across different EVM chains. We'll be supporting at least 2 chains, preferably more at launch. So we're looking at Avalanche, Binance Smart Chain, BNB Smart Chain these days, Matic, Ethereum, and Phantom. So those are all things we're looking at, and we'll be announcing exactly which will be live at launch when we get closer to it. There's the Pixel Park NFT marketplace. So all these copies of NFTs that we're going to have will suddenly have a chance to be able to be traded without insane fees. We want to provide the premier market for those. We've even partnered with Boxable, which is the largest tiny home producer in the country, well, actually the world, I think, to mint a special exclusive collection on Pulse Chain that I think is 10,000 tiny homes. Those NFTs will represent actual tiny homes that will be manufactured out of their new assembly plant in Las Vegas that you can then get into a VIP queue to order. Their backlog right now is like 900,000, 100,000 people deep right now. And they're creating a special VIP queue of 10,000 NFTs that will be purchased, can be purchased on Pulse Chain. This is huge, and it's a great new use of NFT technology. So, the great thing is Pulse Chain with its cheap fees allow us to breathe new life into NFTs just in and of themselves as unique artwork and media. But then it also allows us to go 3 steps forward and finding other creative uses, right? Alex from Hedron has the HSI stakes, right? Those hex stake instances that are a stake wrapped in an NFT. We have a lot of ideas on how to extend that even further into DeFi yield-bearing instruments that will be wrapped as NFTs and tradable on a secondary marketplace. So we're really excited about what's going on there for Pixel Park. The next item is the accelerator, and I'm happy to share here. This is the first announcement we've ever made. Accelerator is actually going to be split into 2 pieces. Sorry about that. 2 pieces. So it was always going to be both a yield compounder for liquidity providing rewards like you would get on PulseX. So if you're providing liquidity on PulseX, you would farm the incentive token, right? And these compounding tools allow you to kind of put in your LP token, and it will automatically every so many hours or minutes or days claim the incentive tokens, sell it for more LP, and give you a larger and larger liquidity pool position in the end. So you're compounding your liquidity pool position to be able to earn more incentive tokens automatically. You don't have to go in and click claim and sell and restake yourself, right? So there's that piece. And then there's the piece that is the liquid loans custom front end. So what we've done is the accelerator is going to be now the traditional liquidity providing rewards yield compounder. And now Amplifier is going to be the platform used to automate the haunted strategies and other exciting strategies that the community's been working on for liquid loans and other liquidity forks. So a custom front end that would allow you to either on semi-auto, where you can initiate several compounding functions through a single mouse click whenever you want, or full autopilot, where you can just say, set it, here's my options, and it'll go run the haunted strategy for you automatically until you tell it to exit or until it hits an escape hatch moment that it kicks you out because the market was too volatile. So we're really excited about that one.
So you said haunted. Will you probably do like the top 4 or 5 strategies? I think Oddpearl has one out as well. So
last I saw, there were over 7 of them. I think there's one attributed to myself even that has to deal with real estate. But in reality, what we're trying to do is design it so that we'll have some presets, but design it so you can dial in exactly how you want to run it. If you want to run at 500% collateralization instead of 1,000, if you want to run at 10,000% collateralization instead of 1,000, right? I mean, there's a lot of different ways we can customize this. So this is still in design, right? But we have a lot of work going into this. We're very excited to be pulling this together and hopefully be working in lockstep with the launching of liquid loans. Of course, we don't know when they're launching, let alone when the chain is launching, so no promises of dates or times here, but we are working hard to bring these products to the table so that you can take advantage of these strategies without having to be staring at charts all day and not sleeping anymore, just so you can hit that next 10% moment to be able to compound, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
This is what he's been talking about. He'll be like, Yeah, Powercity, they're going to have this like front end that you can do, liquid loans and stuff. And he's brought it up several times to me. So he's really excited.
So are we. It's there is no other liquidy fork front end that tries to do any of this. There are many front ends, right? It's designed to have many front ends. I mean, that's just the whole thing they did. So the loan protocol can have, you can be customized along the way. And there are different protocols that have tried to automate little pieces. This is the first one that will allow you to simplify the entire experience. And once we get it up and running with liquid loans, right, then there's plenty of other opportunities wherever there's a liquidity fork going on to be able to bring that service and that automation to help on other chains.
That's awesome. Cool. Let's see. Where are we at on the different parts of the ecosystem?
Sure. I mentioned the core, the transformer, Pixel Park, and the accelerator and amplifier. There's another one we might talk about later. There's a new surprise we've been talking about, Flex. Further out in the roadmap is the node project. Right now it's called Energy Nodes. And then there's Powercity Meta. And we are going through early ideation process for both of those projects to figure out what is the best way to approach a monetizing node services on Pulse Chain. Nodes are important to the successful operation of a blockchain because everybody needs to read the blockchain data to look at their wallet address, the wallet balances, to stake and unstake hex, to trade anything on Pulse Swap, right? PulseX. So all of these functions require access to read information off the blockchain, and that comes from a node, right? So the validators are actually writing new blocks and processing transactions, where nodes are just serving up a current copy of the database, right? And if you don't have good access to a always up, always current node, you can have a slow delay, very slow response times on your app, or even worse, have bad data on your app. So if you ever use like a custom RPC connection for your MetaMask wallet, right? If that node that you're pointing to doesn't have current information, it could show you bad balances, right? So there's a real need for good quality node services. On Ethereum, there's places like Blockdaemon and Infura, which provide these services today. We know somebody needs to fill that gap for Pulse Chain. And the question is, can we do it in a way that will also encourage people to run these nodes, right? Because right now, when people run nodes, it's a labor of love. They just like to play with servers and configure servers and run it out of their basement or something. And that's great. But if you're running an institutional level service, you kind of need that next tier quality, right?
Totally makes sense. Okay, and then there is the meta.
So metaverse is a lot of things to different people. We envision it as kind of a gateway to many worlds, right? We're not looking to necessarily build everything in the metaverse, but we do want to provide a place for people to come together, experience things together, and to build things that will connect to the metaverse. Different online experiences, shared experiences, education, entertainment events, even business, right? Some people have talked about wanting to set up shop in a virtual shop and be able to sell services or other products like books and things that can be transferred electronically or digitally. The thing is, a lot of people kind of poo-poo the idea of like, well, why do I have to do this in 3D? And the reality is, we're in the metaverse right now. We're conversing over digital networks through video screens and cameras, right? The only difference is you would have a VR set on, and you would have a 3D avatar representing yourself, looking at your friends around you and their avatars, right? And you'd be able to customize that with different objects and items that could be purchased and obtained through as NFTs on the blockchain that could be also resold and traded and things like that. So, one of our team members is analyzing different technologies to leverage for this 3D space and ways that we can build out this launching pad of sorts. So there's a whole strategy that's being crafted around it. If you've seen our ecosystem video of kind of flying through a 3D city, right? That's Powercity. It's an actual 3D model. That 3D model has actually been brought into Unreal Engine 5 and hopefully will be a 3D space that you could walk around in at some point in Powercity. So we're really excited about that, but it is further down the road.
Yeah, that'd be awesome and crazy just to even like think of that as something. Cool. Okay. Let's see. So, my background is in software development. So I have a couple of questions about just the code.
Sure.
What languages are you using?
That is a good question. So I am not a developer myself. I am more on the product manager type side of things. So
Yeah, that's what I do now.
exactly, right. I remember you mentioning that. So I recognized a lot of the same approach. So I can do the designs and the epics and the stories and the requirements and things, but I'm not the one coding. We do have some extremely talented developers, very creative guys that are working on it. I can definitely get back to you with exactly what they're using now. I mean, for the contracts, it's Solidity. What they're using for the Web3 front end, I'd have to check with Simon.
Cool. That's okay. Is any of the code completed? I know that the team is working on a lot of things, but is anything completed?
So the contracts for the core have been done for a little bit, but the front end is being designed right now and connected to those contracts. So it's a multiple step process here where the first thing is to write the code for the actual contracts themselves. And we do a little bit of internal, testing with that. Then there's the web front end that is designed. So you get the layout and all the buttons and then things in the right places. And then you start connecting all those buttons to their underlying functions that they're calling from the contracts. So right now, bits of it are working live, and bits of it are still being connected. So the core is, I don't want to give a percentage done. I don't want to set expectations, but we're making great progress on that. We also will be showing the front end that is not yet connected to the contracts for the bridge. So we do have a live demo of the bridge that we have a video of floating around, but the current version of the front end is not connected to the contracts. We can't demonstrate that live. But the code has been done for a while, and now it's just a matter of the front end development piece and all the error checking and error validation, and a lot of extra scenarios that have to go on top of the actual contract code. So then for Pixel Park, on Friday, we'll be showing as a live site. We're doing testing on private testnet right now, and we'll be moving that into a Pulse Chain testnet relatively soon. We're not going to be sharing links until things look good. So, it might be a little while, right? We want to make sure it's a good product before we let people play around with things. Like I said before, we don't want to rush into the market just to say we're first, right?
Totally.
Will you do a test net of any sort?
Our goal is to have a public test net once we either are in or are finished with a third-party audit. So third-party audit can probably go in parallel with a couple of other things. It depends on the project. I think we want to have the audits done with the bridge before we let people play around with it to make sure we catch anything that may come up out of that. Some of the other things we might let people play around earlier. We'll make announcements when it comes time. Like I said, I'm very skittish about putting something out that isn't quite ready for prime time yet. And I get that some people understand that it's a work in progress. Some people don't. So we don't want to set expectations of something if it's not quite up to par yet.
Totally makes sense. It's really cool. I feel like a lot of the projects that are in the Pulse Chain ecosystem want to have that really polished product. And like from my perspective of being in tech, like that's awesome because having that polished product really just like shows like the care and the knowledge that like goes into it. And so hearing you say that, it's like, oh, well, this is going to be awesome.
Well, the irony is my former job, I did software development, design, business strategy, and private banking. And we always had deadlines. There was always a deadline. We had to back into the deadline and then figure out what can we deliver. And then there were like, 3 or 4 compromises made along the way when, our developer teams would realize, well, we really can't do that piece. Or, we thought this would be easier, but we ran into these 5 things. And then you realize you're actually delivering 30% of what you promised, and that's the best you can do within that forced time zone, time limit. So
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm dealing with that right now with my current software development team, and I feel bad for them because they want to do the best product that they can, but there's always that deadline.
yeah, that's the hard part. I mean, part of it is getting the right requirements so that they have the best information to work from, right? I'm a huge fan of think through all your angles before you start building anything. Some people are a little loosey-goosey on that, and they want to work at a much higher level. Higher level is good at the early point. Then you need to get down into those real weeds, and you need to think through every scenario, because if you don't ask for what you want, you might not get it, right? So got to be specific.
Yeah, specifics are important.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, let's see. Dad, any other questions? We do have a couple more. I just am not sure which ones we want to ask in what order.
Let's see. I think pretty much I think you went over the core, just the core items. We want to know. You said you'll launch when it's ready for a pulse chain when you've been audited.
Also, question. I don't know this. What is the audit process? Do you know?
So basically, a third party comes in and they review the code, and they look for certain types of events or calls that occur in the code where you could be sending tokens someplace, maybe not specified, or you're doing it in a way that is unsecure. So they're looking at it from a couple different directions, right? So one is anything untoward being done purposefully in the code, or through ignorance or mistakes is something being done in an unsecure manner that could be exploited in some form or fashion. So, the way you're calling, say, if you require pricing data, how are you getting the pricing data? Could that be falsified to then extract value from your protocol without having actually done what it is you're trying to do, right? So, I mean, there's different types of things that they look at from different angles. And that's why we also, we're going to be doing a lot of testing internally to try to break it in from a lot of different ways, right? And that's one of the biggest challenges, is trying to think of all the thinkable and unthinkable things that can break your project, right?
Yeah, totally. Well, and customers, it's so interesting when they use your product because they always somehow are able to find something that you couldn't, which is good. And that's why it's great to have a test net, just so people can go in and play with it and try and find things, that you didn't. But
definitely, if Pulse Chain takes longer to launch, we'll have more time on a test net. Let's just say that, right? So that's why I was saying it really comes down to when does the chain launch and who gets there first. If we're there first, as far as our code is done and audited, well, fine. We have more time to play with it and people can enjoy it on our test net. If we're still doing that process by the time Pulse launches, we might have a much shorter public test net. So.
Totally makes sense.
I think that's all I had. I was just going to say maybe 2 more weeks. Is that right? Or is that what we're looking at?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Honestly. Okay. If you have questions, put them in the chat. I'm sorry, I have not been super looking at it. I've been looking on my phone just slightly if I see a question pop up on the screen. But yeah, if you have questions about Powercity or anything, please put them in the chat. And then maybe we will talk about what Flex is.
Sure. I see a lot of great names here in the chat. You got Sandy Beach. You got Reese, Sandy B, a Siren, Pulse Jesus. Nice to see everybody out there.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. This will be exciting. So
one thing we can if you don't mind, we can talk about it. I kind of glossed over the core, but it is something that it is actually a lot more complex than just putting in watt and getting more watt, right? Essentially, that's what will happen. But if you're familiar with Olympus or any of the rebasing type of projects out there, you understand that there's a lot more going on behind the scenes, right? So for the core, there is actually a treasury of Pulse tokens backing the watt token value, and
Oh,
more a percentage of watt can be minted for the whenever more value comes into the treasury. So it's not a one for one, right? So just because I have one pulse come in doesn't mean I'm minting 1 watt or some percentage ratio thereof. It's actually allocated a couple different ways. And to manage inflation so that we're not giving 100,000, 1,000,000%, or 1,000,000,000%, some of these got really crazy in the last fall. We're actually looking for a very, very sustainable, long-term, type of staking rate. So an APY in the range of, I'm going to make something up here because we don't have the number dialed in, but anywhere between 20 to 100% APY, right? Now, if you look at that from a traditional markets point of view, that's huge. Crypto point of view, that's like, that's not bad, right? I mean, for something that should theoretically, the way that it's designed, have infinite runway, meaning that it would be able to pay out, reward those stakers ongoing at that rate, hopefully forever, as long as this ecosystem is up and running. That's the goal, right? Because ultimately, it is, you are investing in that reactor. The core is the reactor that is funding and building all the other projects in the ecosystem, and it basically owns those other projects, kind of like real estate investments. And as those projects now each launch and they start generating transaction fees and service fees and NFT sales commissions and things like that, those revenues are sent to the core, right? The core then allocates amongst liquidity, amongst staking rewards, amongst reinvesting in itself to build more protocols and keep the lights on, and for a process additional rewards for what's called buyback bonds and time-locked staking. So it actually has an internal function to say everything is coming in, we're allocated across the different functions of the core, and we're not going to mint the maximum capacity of watt all the time, because we want eventually there to be a surplus of pulse versus watt in the treasury at some point, right? So more value backing watt than actually what is out there, in the market, right? So the nice thing is, the staking rewards then are minted. They are minted and rewarded to stakers as a percentage of what actually comes into the system as revenue, right? So it's not just being inflated out of thin air. We're just not making something and giving it away for free. We're not depending upon people buying watt tokens just to be able to give those rewards out. It is actually this ecosystem kind of, acting as this generator, feeding the revenue into the one single staking platform. And it allows people to participate in Powercity in one place without having to worry about 10 different tokens, 10 different sacrifices and staking contracts and all that kind of stuff, right? So the interesting thing about the stakes is eventually we will have the ability to not only stake your watt to earn more watt, but to also go further and time lock those stakes for an additional APY, additional yield on that. So when you stake your watt, you'll receive a receipt token called AMP. Okay, and AMP will be a placeholder saying, I have staked X amount of watt, and that is earning more every rebase period. It's going to be about 20 hours. Every 20 hours, it'll pay out more rewards. I can then take that AMP and I can wrap it into an NFT called Volt. And Volt will then be that time-locked stake that will allow me to earn an extra bonus yield on top of the regular watt staking yield. And by the way, it's an NFT, which means I can sell that on a secondary market if I wanted to. And if you start thinking, well, gosh, this sounds a lot like a corporate bond market, you would be correct.
Wow, that's awesome. Do you have any questions around that?
No, I don't.
Okay, we have, let me find it. It's a little further up in the chat. So, let's see. It's a lot further up in the chat. Okay. Are you ready to talk about Flex?
Sure, we've been teasing this over the past weekend. Something we're very excited about. It's kind of an idea that we've been working on for a while, but weren't ready to announce it until just recently. And everything's kind of coming together now. So we've been working on how to leverage some of the concepts that we're employing elsewhere in Powercity to benefit the Hex community very specifically, right? A lot of things that we're doing right now are focused on Pulse Chain. But now Flex, we're looking at how do we benefit Hex specifically. And Hex does a lot of unique things, right? It creates kind of like those bonds I was just talking about, but it's what we call a zero coupon bond, meaning that you buy the bond and you earn interest, but you don't receive the interest until at the very end when you also get your principal back, right? So in that model, right, we've seen other platforms come together where people can pull together to make larger stakes and tokenize that as something that can be traded, because people love the idea of staking long term, but they also want to remain liquid and be able to trade. So what we're proposing and what we're building is a treasury that backs the Flex token that is made of a perpetual staking ladder of various different durations of Hex stakes. And basically, you put in Hex, you get Flex tokens, and the treasury will then stake that Hex in a ladder, right, across monthly, 6-month, 3-year, 5, something like that, an allocation like that. And basically, every month it's going to build a new ladder. So whatever Hex comes in, every month it's going to build a new ladder. And you're going to have just this recurring series of stakes that are always coming due, always paying out and allowing more Flex to be minted and rewarded to stakers. That Hex is swept right back into another series of stakes and is used to just stake all over again. The Hex is never sold by the protocol. The protocol just takes it in, sucks it in, and stakes it and stakes it and stakes it over and over and over again. So it is a system that is constantly building value through those ongoing ladders of Hex stakes and minting new value in the form of Flex tokens that are rewarded only to those people who are staking Flex, very similar to the core staking that I just described. So it creates a market where if you wanted to unstake, you could turn around and sell your Flex tokens and then buy back in later on. If you want to remain staked, then you actually remain exposed to the benefits of all those Hex stakes that come due on a monthly basis, and you get to participate in that growth. If you unstake, just like if you hold liquid Hex, you get diluted by the market because you're not participating in the staking rewards. So it is a way of basically allowing liquidity around Hex staking, right? So you get to participate in all the growth and all the wonderful things about Hex, but the treasury is the one that's locked up in that value, and it becomes a black hole because Hex goes in and never comes out.
Wow, this is brilliant. Super cool. Okay, you think if you have any questions, I'm gonna. We have some fun comments. Let's see.
So
welcome to Flexico.
Love it, Toshi.
Let's see. Ooh, this will be the place on Pulse Chain to stake your Hex, and
Yes.
like how brilliant to like bring that to your platform.
So when is this? What is this? What's your timeline on this one? Because if you can get it out soon enough, you can get we can get copies on the Ethereum side and the Pulse Chain side, and then
Or will it just be on?
Or will it just be on Pulse Chain?
It'll just be on Pulse Chain only because of the fees. For a protocol like this, the Ethereum fees would eat it alive because it does need to be continually staking and end staking. End stake is literally the most expensive thing right now, it seems, because of the S-load function fees that are just so much higher right now. And right now the Ethereum gas might be tolerable at the moment, but we know it'll spike again, and it would just be too much pressure on the protocol to take so much of the growth that is earned and have to turn that into gas for fees. So running it on Pulse Chain allows us to do it much more efficiently. And on Pulse Chain, you can do more stakes without having to worry about all those extra costs. You can have those stakes constantly churning. The only thing they'll be playing against you, right, is the constantly ratcheting T-share rate. But the benefit is, right, every bit of hex that goes in is always restaked. So even if the T-share rates are going up, as long as people keep bonding and selling their hex to the protocol, then it will constantly be adding more and more and more to the treasury to continue staking and working against that ongoing T-share rate increase. So it's very cool stuff.
Yeah, that is. Let's see. Andrew said, I love you. I literally had this idea, but had no idea how to make this stuff. I'm so excited. That's awesome. If you are excited for this, definitely put some biceps into the chat because we are over here flexing. Heck yes. I'll do mine even.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's see. Brilliant marketing on the name too. Kudos, guys. Can't wait to live in Flexico.
Thank you, Jenny.
Oh,
Jenny's awesome. She's a moderator in our community. She is an asset to so many communities here. Many teams. She helps out a lot of people. Her and we have an amazing group that is working with us in Telegram, and definitely we appreciate the time that folks put in and what they've given back to everybody. So seeing her involvement and others, it's so encouraging because we've seen in social media some of the drama that can come with the broader Pulse Chain and Hex community, but here you can see in your comments here, this is a lot of the positive side.
Totally. Let's see. I like this comment. Real life flexing. And then I agree with Jenny. You're also brilliant. And if you also thought of something like this, would love to hear other ideas. Scarlett, good to see you as always. Oh, well, this is so cool. What a great way to capitalize on that and be able to bring that into Powercity and just, yeah, it's going to take me a little while to wrap my head around it, definitely.
We knew we had something special with the core, and the core is doing something similar, but it's only holding the pulse, right? So for the core, the pulse goes in and doesn't go out, right? Mm-hmm. But the question is, it kept coming up, what can we do for Hex, right? There's got to be some way to do this because some of these other ideas that are out there, it always bothered me that you, in the end, get your share of the stake, which means you turn around and sell your Hex, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we don't want to see anybody selling Hex, so why not give them something else to sell and to be able to trade on the market and let the treasury go deal with it instead internally, and it'll just keep churning out more value over time. And just like traditional markets, you can buy into a fixed income type of instrument or something and have exposure to yield bearing instruments without having to hold them yourself, right? So if you don't want to commit to a Hex staking ladder yourself because you don't want to lock yourself in, you can participate in this and still be able to benefit in that.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Anything else that you would like to tell us about Powercity?
Definitely, if anyone is planning on coming out to Las Vegas in September, there is an event, something to do with a blockchain that's happening at the same time. Well, we're having a party down on Fremont Street at the I'm always going to get this wrong because I want to say exactly what it is. Hold on. The Backstage Bar and Billiards Club, and it is a after party with DJ Lethal, DJ Sid Wilson from Slipknot, Crystal Method, and the guys from How to Pulse. And we'll also have a casita from Boxable set up in the back patio. So if you want to see what one of those boxable NFTs would be able to get you in the end. You'll be able to walk through that as well. So we're looking forward on Wednesday, September 7th, and seeing everyone to come out. Tickets are on sale. We have that posted around on Twitter and our Telegram. So definitely come check that out. That's the Telegram is in right there. Yeah. There you go. And it's extremely affordable, right? So it's actually one of the few affordable things you can do in Las Vegas. So we want to see folks come out, have fun, meet their brethren and friends in crypto, and have a good time with us.
Heck yeah. We'll have to go to that. We'll be at PulseCon. Are you going to be at PulseCon, LV?
I will be attending, yes.
Awesome. Well, we will see you there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Definitely.
Love it. So where else can we find Powercity? So you have the Telegram right there. What about
Sure.
Twitter, YouTube?
Sure. So Telegram t.me/PowerCityIO. The website is powercity.io. Twitter is @PowerCityIO. It's sensing a pattern. And I do believe we have a link to TikTok and Discord in our Telegram. If you want to come find us there, there's links there. And I do believe Osiren's going to kick me later on because I don't remember the link tree link that he created. So he has a link tree for us that has everything in one place.
Cool.
But we'll make sure that we get that out there in the Telegram for people to see. So I apologize that I forgot that one.
That's okay. I'll put it in the description as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Oh, well, Long Vacation. So glad that you were able to come on this stream. And thanks for telling us just all about Powercity. It's going to be an amazing project. And I'm really excited to just see where it's going to, bring Pulse Chain, because it's definitely going to be one of those projects that's just going to hit hard. And thanks for telling us what Flex is. I'm excited.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was wonderful being here.
Awesome. You have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. We'll see.
Bye.